Welcome to Subramani. I got a very good response on when I spoke to doctors about the why doctors are not very rich, and I was reading from this book, so that enthused me to read one more case study, largely saying instead of getting into what doctors should do in their practice, I some case studies, so it has what to do and what not to do. So today I will talk about one professional, one doctor, what she did, how her practice grew, etc. Names have been changed, locations have been changed, maybe it's a different business, but I'm going to different profession, but I'm going to give you the example that I've written in my book. Yes, this is a real life story, and the names have been changed. So it starts like this, saying Sharmila Parmeshwaran was one of the quietest girls in the batch, and she actually she was a friend, she's my neighbor's friend, so that's how I know her. And she was a dentist, and she did her masters, and then she started her practice. But luckily or unluckily, she got married to a boy from a different caste community, and the families were not very happy. Remember, this was really long back in the previous century. So so to say, they got married, and the boy was from a very successful business family, and the girl, as I said, is a dentist and a senior dentist, in the sense that she had qualified. She done BDS, then she did MDS, and then she would continuously go abroad. I mean, this I'm saying later on after the marriage, that she would continuously go abroad and keep adding to her skills. But it was very important that her husband put in his money and bought her a very successful practice from a retiring dentist in Breach Candy. They were doing very well, and then because they could afford, she added more chairs in different locations. So Mumbai, Delhi, right, she conquered a couple of places. Then by the time the husband's business was doing very well, so much so that he could leave the business, even though it was a family business, he stepped out of the business and started supporting her. Imagine the family was technologically advanced enough that sometime in the early 2000s they set up their own website, right, quite unheard of, right? So thanks to the financial backing of the family, they could invest more in real estate, they could invest more in chairs, they could invest in more in people. And here, this I have to read out because I had asked her, and she said she added an orthodontist, a cosmetic dentist, a pediatric dentist, a pathologic mouth anatomy specialist, periodontics dentist, and an endodontist, and a prosthodontist to her dental practice, right? So many people were on her beck and call, and she could hire some people, she could have some people on as full-time employees. She had added more dentists, so she could increase her timing. She of course had to corporatize, so there was a corporate, there was a chartered accountant, there was an MBA, right, looking after the processes, looking after the administration. Then when she was talking to me, she said how important it was for her to set up all this. I mean, she had a monthly newsletter. She would go visiting schools and talk about that. She had others who would just do that and drive patients. Drive patients in the sense, some student would come with the parents, so that all meant more work, much more work, going abroad, adding to qualification, going abroad, deciding which equipment to buy. Her husband then took up agencies for some dental products in India, right? So all those things happened in a big way, and today they have a very good practice, and so much so that her daughter has done her I think she did her MBA from a good college, and now she's likely to become the CEO. The handing over process will happen from her husband, because he's not very old, he's just about 57, 58. So maybe he'll hand over the reins to her. The son was not doing very well. He was not so good in studies, but that apart, he had some other problems. So he is a special child in the sense that he will not be able to do much in terms of the business and all, but something he can take care of himself. They make sure that the cash flows will happen, and there will be a small team to look after him. Everything would be funded well, and of course the sister's responsibility is what the will says. This apart, what has really happened, when I was talking to her, she said success in practice is not just because of academic qualification. I think that's very important for many doctors to realize, because when doctors talk about another doctor who has bought an Audi or a Mercedes, it's like, oh, you know, in 7th standard he failed, or he got such poor marks in maths, or something like that. People think, which is true not just for doctors but generally in our houses also, that academic excellence will mean business excellence, will mean a lot of money. Not true. They are not really connected. I'm not saying that you don't need academic excellence, especially in professions like doctor. You need to have good academic excellence, but it's far more important that you have a very good communication skill. You need to have very strong administration. I just recently came across a doctor who was selling his practice, and we found a tremendous amount of leakage. I'm not talking of the geography and location and all the deal has gone through, but the doctor has earned much less than what he should have earned, right? He said, this is my practice, this is how much I earn. He was being conned by his administrative staff dramatically, right? I'm not getting into the details because the deal is on and the deal has already happened, but I don't want somebody to get ideas because I've been involved in the deal. But tremendous amount of loss of revenue by the doctor simply because he was not paying enough attention. So in this case, what has happened is this dentist was not paying any attention, but her husband was paying full-time attention to all the administrative portions, including recruitment, training, making sure that all the payments are by check only or credit card or things like that, and making sure that a lot of taxes was paid. If not all, but 80-90% of the taxes were paid. Sorry, which is not very likely happening in many doctors' cases. So being organized, being good at record keeping, keeping good records for income tax purposes, all that helped when they needed some more funding to grow. And a lot of the funding happened in-house, in the sense his own brother, her own brother, all of them wanted to chip in, and they all chipped in, and the practice grew. So much so that today they can, if they want, sell off their practice for a huge sum. Now this is got with maybe 20-30% of her skills, then maybe 60% or 30% of her communication skills, and the remaining 40% is her husband's administrative and marketing skills of everything, right from recruitment, right from training, tying up with colleges, getting good people, good staff, training them to work, right, so negotiating well with manufacturers for buying those chairs, whatever, all that is required. Now, can one person do all this? Can one doctor, a dentist or an ophthalmologist do this? It's very, very difficult, because you need so many hats to be worn. Technology, how much of technology training would you need? I mean, when you buy a new mobile phone, you use it only to 10% of its capacity or 15% of its capacity. I mean, the number of features that my phone camera has is amazing, and I wouldn't know how to use them. Somebody showed me the facilities which are available, so somebody has to be trained, right? Nice new dental chair can cost you 45 lakhs. Yes, you heard me right, 45 lakhs. When you buy an equipment for 45 lakhs, it has a lot of features. The question is, how much of training do you go through for using those equipment, right? You can't just buy an equipment and hope that you learn. Today, even for when you buy a car or buy a camera, the amount of reading, watching YouTube videos is so important to know that you don't mess up, right? Halfway on the highway, you cannot say, "Gadi band pad gaya." New car, right? You don't know how to operate it because some switch you pressed or did not press or something like that. So getting your staff to be trained on that, retaining the staff, paying them a bonus, all this is part of your practice. You cannot do well in practice just by being yourself, or just by saying, oh, academically I was all India first, or which happens only in Hindi movies, that in medicine you can get an all India first. But whatever, you first in university, you topped the university, you did very well, you got gold medal. That's fantastic, but that's just the beginning. After that, you need to develop good communication skills, accounting skills, administrative skills, because you're only partly a professional. The other part of you is you're an entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur in you has to know how to do all these things. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to be able to practice and grow the practice and grow professionally. Now in this case, what happened was she could grow professionally because all the other work, not really related to the profession, but not really what she enjoyed, was taken care of by somebody else. He brought in accountant from his business, from his family business, and put that person here, and that person could handle the whole thing very easily. Then you start paying your taxes, you keep all your invoices, you make sure that there is no leakage happening. All this is not very easy. Not very many doctors have the skill to be in the business of being in practice, right? Being in practice is being a professional. As a professional, you need a lot of support. You need to pay attention to all that. I'm not saying everybody can do this, but at least get some administrative assistant who takes care of all this. Somebody who comes maybe once in a week and organizes all your financial papers, all your business papers, all your personal investments. So knowing when to invest, how to invest, all this is part of your overall success, right? Thank you.